guys don't know, Kyle is the current and returning president of his chapter for the Successful Entrepreneurs, and he's the owner of Pro Defense Pest Control.
I've never been described.
There we go. Okay, I've never been described as extraordinary or ordinary before, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But
Representative chapter extraordinary.
perfect. I guess we were kind of talking about the incoming president. I knew that was going to be, and we were discussing it, threw out some ideas, and she brought up the point that I had not been president twice, and I could do that. And I realized over the last 6 months, I guess kind of my role, I am pretty confident I'm the youngest person in my group, and as president, it's a little overwhelming to me. And so what I decided to do was to say, let me give this another go, because I've had a lot of experiences, and I now realize that as president, I kind of view myself as dad. And that sounds a little bit weird, but if you've got your kids that you care about, you want them to be successful and you want them to do well. And I realized I need to do the same things that I do for my business as I do for my group. I need to do the same for my group as I do for my business, which means I need to hold myself accountable, and I need to hold those who I actually care about accountable. And have asked people to step into positions, and now I need to ask them to follow through on those positions. So as president, you have your vice president, who is just your right hand and does the majority of the work that you have. That doesn't mean that I can sit by and just watch them do all the work. I have to hold myself accountable as well. I have my membership committee, who the vice president is over. I have visitors hosts, who I kind of stepped out of line and put one visitor host as my head visitor host. So they're the ones who I go to, and they're the ones who hold the rest of the visitor hosts accountable. And then you have your secretary-treasurer. What I decided to do this upcoming term, and I think will work really well for us, to spark a little bit of excitement and to hold a little bit more accountability for my group, is for myself to call my visitor host, my head visitor host, my vice president, as well as my secretary every single week. What that's going to do for me is build relationships between me and those 3 people, so that when they have a referral for me, it's going to build more confidence in me. That's the selfish side of it. The other side of it, the business side of it, the B&I side of it, is that it's going to allow us to function better as a group. Because there's responsibilities, and this is actually how this phone call started. As president, I didn't know I'm in charge of ordering materials. And I don't know if any of you presidents know that that's your responsibility. A surprise, it is.
20 minutes before his meeting, he learned from my offices. And that started the conversation.
And that's how it started. So there was just something that I realized that this was information that could have been brought up. And being able to call my group, I'm going to be able to have more accountability and be able to build a better relationship. So my visitor host, my secretary, my vice president knows if they ever need anything, they've already got my number in their call log. They know they can call me. They know there's nothing to be a concern about it. And they know if something comes up on a personal issue. That's the great thing about BNI is those relationships become so strong. That's what I'm going to do. My visitor host is going to call her, my head visitor host is going to call her visitor host every week. And what that's going to do is help them to know that she is there for them. And if I have visitors that week, which I better have visitors that week, my visitor host during the meeting is going to delegate to one of the visitor hosts to follow up with that visitor either Thursday or Friday. They're also going to grab the person who invited that guest and say, you're going to call them Monday or Tuesday, and then they're going to follow up on Tuesday with that person, or Monday with that person, just to remind them to call. Guests and guest retention has been a struggle for us. And I'm not sure why, because we're an awesome group. But the reason that we've decided to do this is because it allows for those guests not just to come to the meeting and say, hey, thanks for coming to the meeting, we'll see you when we see you. It allows them to know that we actually do value them and we actually do care about them and we do want them as part of the group, because they're going to get a couple phone calls from people who just want to come back to the group, and they're going to get a phone call from that person who actually invited them and has a little bit of an investment in them. And so they know that if there's a question that came up throughout the week, maybe it's a little more personal question, they can ask that person. My vice president is going to call her membership committee each week. She's going to be in charge of making sure anyone who's absent gets a phone call as well. So your membership committee is going to just call people who are absent. The main focus of what we're trying to do is really strengthen the relationships that we already have. That are great relationships. But the selfish side, the reason we joined B&I isn't to make great relationships. I joined B&I when I started a pest control company 4 years ago because I wanted to make money. And I probably wouldn't be there if it didn't show repeatedly every single year the continued growth that B&I brings into our business. But the great thing about building relationships is when people say loves or people say pests or people say anything along those lines, they have such a good relationship with me that they know they can just hand my information over and that person can call and I'm going to take care of it. And that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do with my group, is strengthen and hold accountable and build relationships. And as we're making these phone calls, it can be simple or it can be longer. And phone calls take about 15 seconds. So if we can't find an extra 15 seconds in an investment that we made a $1,500 investment in, then we're wasting our time. Make that 15-second investment because you made the $1,500 investment. And call and build those relationships because it's going to help. We're going to have more trust in you and it's going to make you more money. And that's the whole reason that we decided to do what we're doing this next 6 months.
It really is all about attitude and whether the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. And on any given day, even the best of us can have a half empty glass. But I want to personally thank you, Kyle. Kyle and I don't talk often, but every time we do, brings an energy to the conversation that makes me want to up my game. And I couldn't be more appreciative. Everything that he said after having been to B&I training and feeling like he did not spend the time, I guess, when he was looking back on whether or not he wanted to become president again, and he's really challenged himself to be accountable, and he's challenged himself to hold his leadership accountable. And so I just cannot imagine the awesome things that would happen if each one of our chapters made that commitment this term. So now we're looking at goals. So, really, for those of you that used to be in my chapter, I love quotes. I love quotes because they're like songs, right? You don't have to give a whole lecture. Someone's already distilled the information down to you for you. And really, one of the best quotes that I've heard that time and time again proves true is, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. Give us game. No, it's actually about feedback. You know, if you want to get something, you need to measure it, right? And so for every single term, we talk about doing goals. And I think for most of us, with the exception of you guys, for most of us, that's what we do. We talk about doing goals, right? So if you're really invested in being a superstar in leadership, I want you to do more this term than talk about doing goals. I want you to join other chapters across San Antonio. Take a look at where you are right now. You have one of those pages on your table, and I apologize we didn't pass them out for everybody. But every single chapter in the San Antonio region has where you are today on your table. And I would like for you guys to spend a little bit of time looking at it. Most of the data is given, it is a snapshot of August 2013 for the last 6 months, and it is given in terms of weekly, so per week, all right? So I want you to look at that. The directors are going to go by and help you if you have any questions, but I'd like for you to plan a little bit as your leadership team, of where you are today and what things you would like to improve over the next 6 months, and write down what your goals will be for the next 6 months, and then go ahead and check with yourself, what should they be for the next 12 months for your chapter. We're going to take a short 7 minutes to do this exercise. Begin.